All right, everybody, welcome into another edition of the DNVR Rapids podcast, where I am here to tell you that if the Broncos can find a quarterback, the Rapids can find a striker. Hope is alive. Let me tell you right now. Hope springs eternal for us. My name is Mitchell Carroll, at _ Mitchell James on Twitter. And I'm joined today from the C38 podcast, Jared Geisler.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad Russell Wilson's in town, but would love to see a 9. I think Broncos have a pretty nice sell for a quarterback, maybe more so than the Rapids for a 9. I think that might have something to do with it. Also, I don't know if we've got the same budget for that particular position.
Yeah, you don't think they're going to spend $25 million on a striker?
Seems high to me, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. It's KSC's money, not my money. I'll take it.
Who am I to count another man's wallet? Welcome in, everybody. We're excited. Coming off our first Winners Lounge of the year on Saturday of the history of the DNVR Rapids podcast, which was rad. Obviously, we love to have that off a 3-0 win at home over Atlanta United, where the boys just looked fantastic. Goals from Rubio, Lewis, Shinyashiki. They had a man sent off. Really no threat whatsoever. All in all, just a dominant 3 points at home. Jared, what's your biggest takeaway from that game?
Yeah, biggest takeaway is I don't think Atlanta knew what they had coming. I think you underestimate the Rapids at your own peril. What we saw from the Western Conference all last year was a very deep line, blocks of 8, so 8 defenders that were kind of pent up. And I still don't know that we have somebody who picks a lock. We are still, I think, in need of that number 9 type of player.
Absolutely.
Even though all of our current striking options got on the board on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think most interesting thing that I took away, and maybe not the most interesting I took away. One thing I really noticed, and especially with the way Fraser did the lineup, was it really allowed Rubio to play the best version of himself, where he was a little bit back, almost at that false 9 that we've said he's the most natural fit for. And I think he had far and away his best performance of the season, with the assist, just a beauty of an assist to Lewis, and obviously the header from it wasn't Lucas. It was
Lucas's cross had gone through the box.
Yeah, it went over to the other side.
Someone recycled it. I don't remember. Was it Rosenberry? Would be maybe a likely candidate to be recycled from that side. But
yeah,
I don't
either
remember
way,
exactly who put
it was beautiful. It was finished, and they get the 3-0 win. So for this recap, we're just going to go through a few key players, whether or not they were key, or basically a little stock check in where you're seeing them, where they're at so far, if you've liked it, if you haven't, and sort of where you think it is going, not just into Sporting Kansas City, but into the next month or so of games that they have coming up. How's
Absolutely.
that sound? Does that
Sounds
work?
good, yeah.
Okay, number 1, and we already brought him up, and I think it makes the most sense. He was man of the match, Diego Rubio.
Fantastic on Saturday. I love to sing that song.
Yeah.
I have definitely, been right with the rest of the camp where we're not sure that this is a guy who can provide 20 goals, but
Sure.
he's hearing it too. You could tell from the celebration, fingers in ear. So he's hearing it as well, and hopefully that's going to drive him forward to even more this season. So I'm excited about Rubio. I think that he's going to have a good season. My chips are definitely in that pot, because I don't see another option coming in that's going to supplant him as being our number 1 option up top.
No, and I mean, you just have to hear Fraser talk about him for 5 seconds to know that Fraser loves him. And I mean, if he's going to play like he did on Saturday, I think it's going to take one more game like that for people to be like, oh, okay, we can roll with that.
Absolutely, because I think a lot of people have goodwill towards
Absolutely.
Rubio. I think people want to be in his corner. So, I mean, especially as Rapids fans. Maybe not national media, but Rapids fans, we like Rubio. And I think that there's a lot more to come from him this season. And I think if we can get him to the 12 to 14 goals this season, he's had a absolute banger of a season.
Absolutely. I do have a question. So Rubio, you were singing the song, but is there a chant like Rufio from Hook? Like Rubio, Oh, is that a thing?
No.
Can we make it a thing?
You can try. I welcome you down there. I think, I'm kind of in the camp with the creators of the Diego Rubio song, and that is just taking off. So I think,
okay, we'll stick with the song for now.
For 2 songs, you've got to have at least one 20-goal season. That's.
I more think of, maybe I'll just keep that to Twitter with a Rufio gif when he scores a goal. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think overall, it's hard to not have his stock trending in the right direction. Right. Like he had a great game. He was distributing, he was finishing. It's tough to say that he's, it was a rough start, but kind of like to see where he's at. Next player I want to talk on, our boy Jay Lou, Jonathan Lewis, with a beautiful one-timer from Rubio. Just snuck it there low past Brad Guzan there. And what I thought was an absolutely perfect touch. He actually leads the team in expected goals so far. Only has the 1 as a 0.8 expected goals per FB reference. But where is your head at in terms of the Jonathan Lewis experience? He's in a new position, new role, maybe not necessarily new position, but new role and playing in a different way than we saw him last year. What are your thoughts so far on how he's playing?
I think if he stays on the score sheet, he's undeniable. The guy's speed is an absolute weapon. I do have some concerns there from long stretches of non-productivity, but as long as he's producing, he's a guy that can be a serious stalwart in the team, and I think that we have to hope that he does. Great touch. We were very clinical. I think 3 shots on goal, 3 goals on Saturday, so possibly shoot on goal more often if that trend holds up. But
you should probably do that.
Very clinical, and when Lewis is clinical, he is a bear. He showed that in LA last year. So here's hoping that we continue to see that same level of productivity we did Saturday.
You and super producer Yaya over there are in the same camp when it comes to Lewis. Not the biggest fans, but if he scores, you're not going to be mad about it, and I don't think any Rapids fans should be. Look, I think it's still a feeling out process, and to have that lead in expected goals, I think, is a good sign.
Yeah.
Grant, even with the miscues and kind of looking lost at times, I think it means that even through that, he is ending up in the right place.
Yes, and he's got the pace to get there, which is very important.
Yeah, so look, again, yes, the Rapids could upgrade. They're not going to, so we have for a while, right? And so at this point, we have to say it's the Rubio and Lewis show up top, and how does that look, right? And so far, the returns are probably better than anyone expected.
In game 2. So, game 1 was a different story, and I worry that the same scouting report from last year, where if you do sit low, you make it difficult to break down, Rapids may struggle with that again. But, if we can stay on form and keep people scoring in clinical fashion, we should be all right. We'll create a few chances.
Next player I want to talk about, who I think has been the team MVP by a pretty wide margin so far, is Lucas ESTEVES.
Team MVP, I think that is a bit of a stretch in my opinion, just because he doesn't show up on the score sheet very often. It's tough for an outside back to get there unless he's servicing.
Okay, let me take back MVP and say he is in better form than anyone else on the pitch.
Yes. The pace is Vines-like.
Yes.
His
the
motor
Vines back roll
is fantastic. He serves a nice ball, and that's going to be something that's invaluable. I think he also adds a little bit of grit that the Rapids need.
Oh, yeah. And the Rapids have had a couple moments so far where it's gotten, especially against Comunicaciones, where it did get a little chippy, and he has no problem, that little Brazilian bowling ball jumping in there and mixing it up. And I think, if he can continue to bring both of those things, he leads the team in crosses by a pretty wide margin. Doesn't have the highest accuracy mark because especially I think the game against LAFC sort of ruined that by saying send it in and see what happens. And well, we all saw what happened in that game. But yeah, I mean, tough to say anything besides, and honestly, you can put Rosenberry in there with him too. I think the outside backs have been the strength so far of this team.
Yeah, center backs are looking good as well for the most part. We did stumble out of the gates, but I think our defensive line looks very established, looks very set. I think Robin has a good plan there, and I think he's going to stick with it. I think that's one area of the field where you don't even have to look at the team sheet. The 5 that we're going to run out when everyone's fit.
Let's talk about the one, well, at least who I think you're talking about has stumbled out of the start. That one center back. Let's talk LALAS ABUBAKAR. Obviously had a pretty disastrous game against LA. There's no other way to put it. between giving up the PK and playing Vela onside on that breakaway. And just in general, looking a little lost, playing maybe a little too much on ball. I thought he definitely got things going in the right direction, though, this weekend.
Yeah, he definitely had to step up in the second half as well. Wilson with a hamstring knock left at the end of the first half. And Wilson really has been very good so far, distributing very well. So LALAS did have to step up in the second half. He's a player that we're going to, again, with Trusty outbound in the summer, we need LALAS to be solid.
We need the best version of him, for sure.
And I think that he, that center back position, especially for a guy who, for me, may have looked like he needed the fitness of the beginning of the season to get under his belt in order to hit all cylinders. I think he'll be okay. We saw him all last year. He's a very solid player.
Yeah.
If he can keep the distribution looking good, we can keep him out of one-on-one defending situations. We've got 3 center backs.
For a reason.
We're going to keep that. So we need to keep him away from those positions where he is one-on-one. A position that Danny Wilson was in, a year and a half, 2 years ago, where the one-on-one defending was a question mark. But we've got the personnel in order to keep those clean sheets regardless.
Yeah, and man, maybe this is just me, but it looks like he is so close to burying one of these Jack Price corners. They have just been, it is just begging. He's such an easy target.
Yes.
The hair is obviously easy to see, but he gets up, he finds that back post almost every corner, and I just feel like one is knocking on the door for us. I don't know. Have you seen that? Is that just a me thing, really just hoping that he turns it around with a header on a set piece?
Yeah, that can do wonders for a center back, and it can kind of come out of the blue sometimes. We saw Danny Wilson head home a number of goals last year. I definitely think it would help with confidence, and absolutely. I'd love to see it, and I do think, he is a big target, and we have a number of players that demand marking. Between Mac, Wilson in the box, you've got your 2 biggest guys probably on those 2 targets. So we've got an extra head in there to put one home.
Yeah, one is coming. I think it's this weekend, but we'll get into that later.
Place your bets.
What do you think? So BEITASHOUR did come in for Wilson. I didn't have him on the list to talk about, but I thought he had a pretty solid half. I wouldn't say it was great. Wouldn't say it was bad. I say he came in and held down that right center back spot and did a pretty good job doing it.
Exactly what we're looking for from BEITASHOUR. A professional, serviceable player that puts in a professional performance every time. That's what you got. And with BEITASHOUR and Drew Moore, we have a little bit of cover back there.
Yeah. Look, they're already going to test the depth, right? And I think it's honestly a good thing with Trusty leaving that, okay, who is going to be that third center back? Is it someone that's coming in this summer in the next window, or are they in-house? I think fans obviously would love to go grab a name, but solid first 45 minutes from him in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next. Let's talk about Mac. You brought up Mac as a target piece and being a big athletic piece, but so far he's been really quiet this season.
Very quiet.
What do you think is holding back that Mac breakout so far?
I think it's tough to play from his position when you don't have a target forward.
Yep.
Where do you go? You typically go out wide. The plaudits go to the guy who crosses the ball in, not to the guy who made the second pass. Mm-hmm. I think he's got to fire some in, and we have no shots from outside the box. I think out of our 9 on Saturday. Just pulling the trigger from deep would be a nice sign, just to let teams know that we can do it.
Right, and break the ice a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Show a little bit of threat. And I think that Kansas City probably has that scouting report, will play a little bit more reserved against us, and we will have to try to find shots from somewhere. So I'd love to see it be Mac, and I think that if he is to start shooting from range a little bit, it also opens up some interior channels that we're not really exploring yet.
Yeah.
But we waited all season last year to try to find an attacking identity. If we can get into that by the first month or in, second month of the season, we're already ahead of schedule.
Absolutely. And, I called last game when we previewed it with Matt. Aaron, hold on real quick in the chat. Aaron Chappa says, Rapids' most underrated team in Denver. I think that's fair. I think right now, especially because coming off of that big run last year and then kind of just, a rough result. I think process was better than results so far. So,
yeah.
But especially when you're trying to pull in casuals, yeah, I do agree. Underrated team.
especially with so many plaudits going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Avs, definite contender. Nuggets contender with an MVP.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson to the
Russell
Broncos.
Wilson, baby.
Everyone knows the Rockies stink, so there's no overrating going on there. I mean, we just got to get in the conversation. The Rapids just have to get in the conversation.
Hey, the longer the lockout goes, can we pull in some baseball fans to become Rapids fans? Because soccer's still going, baby. Let's.
Amen.
Okay. Anyways, I was saying with Matt last week when we previewed the game, I was saying it is time for the midfield breakout game. We didn't get it. I would say it was pretty much the outside backs in the attack really found the groove, which is, I mean, it's fine. If you win 3-0, it's tough to complain about where that 3-0 came from, right? Yep. But I think when you want to look at a global view, a little, aerial view of where we're at with the team, I think that is the group that you want to see dominate a game. And I think Mac letting some shots go, mixing it up. I feel like he's kind of given up on some plays after losing possession. I don't know if that's frustration or still figuring out where he fits in that kind of three-headed attack, amorphous midfield blob. But I think he's due. I think the midfield is due. One guy we didn't see was Max in the midfield at all, and didn't have to sub him on with a lead. But do you think that in an ideal world, it's those two kind of setting the tone a little bit forward in the midfield?
Yep. Yeah. And I think Mac will have a lot more of a role to play. Week 1, we just got smacked all up and down the field. Nobody had a great outing. No. Week 2, I think we had something like 35% of possession, so we didn't see much time on the ball to be advancing through the midfield, played pretty direct. This game against Kansas City, we need a standout performance from Mac, and Mac's reintroduced into the center of midfield, I think will be necessary because, again, I think we will have to find a way to pick the lock against Kansas City where Atlanta, the opportunities kind of presented themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Max and Mac are the creative hub, I would say, in terms of finding those in the middle routes forward. And then the last one I have on here is YARBROUGH. I just think, man, it probably felt good to have a clean sheet after the way the penalties went against Comunicaciones and that 3-0, which I don't think he even had a bad match, which is tough to say with 3-0, but it probably felt great to have that clean sheet.
Yeah, well-deserved. I think he's going to be right in the running for top clean sheet goaltender again. I mean, we've got a guy who is extremely strong. I've not seen anything to make me worry about YARBROUGH in the slightest. So I think, again, along with that 5-back system, YARBROUGH looks very consistent. I don't think we have anything to worry about at all.
Just some, I kind of touched on these a little. I wanted to look at, some team stats. Sitting right now currently in 6th in the West, with just on goal differential with KC right below us. They lost and won. We lost and won, but they've only scored 2 goals so far this season. Looking at the Rapids specifically, only 2.1 expected goals. Probably would like to see that number grow dramatically this week.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, the expected goals are going to be low when you only take 3 shots on frame. It's that is definitely something that we have to do more of. Is it going to take more than 2.1 to beat Kansas City? I'm not sure of that. I think that probably will be a relatively low scoring affair. But that's definitely a number we want to see grow on. My target for this year is 1.75 goals scored per game.
Yeah.
To get there, you've got to be 2.53 XG to be safe.
Right.
We're not always going to be clinical enough to finish the only 3 shots on goal. So, if we can start building that XG number, that's definitely a stat that's going to work in our favor. I think we've got the crew to do it because we don't have a guy who is going to be super clinical season long based on anything we've seen from our 3 attacking options. So we do need to create those chances. And Mac and Max in the middle, feeding to our 3-headed dragon in Shinyashiki, Lewis, and Rubio, right?
What a nickname that may or may not be deserved yet.
Very undeserved. Maybe premature, but if they're all on the score sheet, we got to find a way.
Look, you hit it, Max. I think Max is the key to this offense, and we've only seen 60 minutes of him in MLS play so far. Hopefully he gets to start this weekend. Let's see, Dev Machine, the homie Dev, who I saw on the grill at the tailgate this weekend. what's to say? Vernas won't make the same mistake Atlanta did with tactics. SKC is a really good test to see how good the Pids actually are.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and with that, let's jump in. I mean, I don't really have a lot more to touch on with stats. We kind of hit Lucas's lead in crosses. Would be nice to see someone up there in that 10 to 12 range near where he is from the other side. But Rosenberry has been tending to play a little further back compared to Lucas playing up almost above the midfield. Let's get into this Kansas City game. They lost to Atlanta, 3-1 in Atlanta to open the season. Shallowy had the only goal in that game for them. And then Johnny Russell had the goal last week in a 1-0 win against Houston at home. I think like Dev said, this is a really good, and we talked a little bit about this when you got to the bar earlier. It feels like a really big match for March. Yep. For both teams, right? And almost like, hey, we really need to get a point out of this.
Yeah, I'm sure Kansas City is salty that we kind of jumped them in the standings. In my opinion, I thought they had a more developed and probably a better roster tail into last year. So for us to be able to kind of jump them at the tail end, there certainly is some salt between the two as well. In the preseason match, there was an elbow / blood spitting potential incident between ESTEVES, and I'm not sure which player it was on their side, but there's certainly going to be a tone set for the Western Conference in the game on Saturday night. We have not seen that as of yet. We didn't bring it to LA, even though potentially could say that we should have. And then an Eastern Conference opponent in Atlanta that I think Devin hit on the nail there. They came in underprepared and with a poor scouting report for the Rapids that we took advantage of. So yeah, I think Saturday night is the proving grounds, and whoever comes out of that victorious, if either team walks out with 3 points, probably has their head pretty high walking into the Western Conference, that it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, and, I said that Russell got the goal. That was actually Remy Walter. Russell doesn't have a goal yet this year after putting in 15 last year, and he only has 0.1 XG on the season. So they are probably, my guess is they're going to be feeding Shallowy and Russell up top and really hoping that this game is the breakout game. Rough for them that it's against a team who just loves to have 5 or 6 people back at all times.
Yes. And they have a third attacker as well. His name's escaping me right now.
I got you. Keep going.
Yeah, it came out of the championship. So Kansas City's a team that, we're very familiar with. Yeah, KAYE Shelton. And so we're going to have an interesting time keeping them at bay. But I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be trying to push forward the entire match where we saw Atlanta basically, plant themselves headed forward. Kansas City is going to be a different challenge, and I think that it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think that'll operate in our favor. If we can keep them to a goal or two, we're probably looking pretty good with that attacking front that they have. Yeah,
absolutely. They're definitely due, which is the scary part, right? And they only have 2 goals so far. But also, there's plenty of guys on the Rapids that are due. This is kind of like a game where, in my mind, I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, both of these teams feel like they should have been doing better, and probably deservedly so. I didn't watch too much of Kansas City so far, but I've watched the extended highlights for both games. And the Rapids, obviously, I think their form and function has been better than results, and it's just such an interesting match for March where it's like we have something to prove right now.
Yeah. Do you worry that we may have gotten all of our, we're due goals last week? Because you had
that's a good point.
Lewis, Shinyashiki, both had been on a long skid. Rubio hadn't gotten on the board in a while. So I wonder if we may have gotten what we had coming to us last week.
No, that's a really interesting point.
Now we have to manufacture. 3 for 3 shots on goal to goals is not something we can count on every week.
No.
We're going to need to create more.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd say that's funny because there was... 3 guys got one that we would probably do, but I still think there's 3 more that are probably due. You definitely want to see KAYE get involved. You definitely want to see one of these set pieces go. So I don't know if that's, you say maybe Jack Price is due or the back line is due as a group or however you want to say that. And then I want to see something, I think the new guys need to make their presence felt, whether that's like an assist or something from Acosta or an assist or a goal from Max.
Yeah, I think that max goal is coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Something, I haven't seen him take free kicks, but something tells me he's going to be a free kick type of guy.
Interesting. Because Price is he's a surgeon.
Yeah, Price is a surgeon, but he isn't a shooter.
Right.
So,
So you're talking about 30 yards. Yeah.
I'm saying, 25 yards and in, somebody around the box that puts in a cheeky shot. I think Max could be that type of guy.
Oh, God, man. I mean, if that 10-minute YouTube video we've all watched is anything, he's going to be peppering the goal. What would be the matchup in your opinion? And this can be player to player, someone to watch out for on them, position group to position group, something even more philosophical than that, whatever you want. What is the thing that you are looking for that you think will define a win or a loss for the Rapids this weekend?
I hope we can take advantage of Graham Zusi's old ass.
Yes.
He's 35 years old?
And still starting there at the right back.
So there's going to be an opportunity there for, Lewis against Zusi. I like that matchup for pace. I think that's an area we can exploit.
Absolutely.
So I'll take that matchup right there.
That's probably where I would look to. And if Max can work up to him on that side, we'll see. I don't know. That's probably the best one. I'm going to pull up DraftKings here real quick. While we're doing that, give me a score prediction.
Score prediction. Well, I was not on the Rapids last week, and that's been documented. So I can own up to that. They surprised me. I like it. Winning feels good again. Let's go ahead and keep the good times rolling. I'm going to say 2-1 Rapids.
2-1. Okay, so if you're saying 2, you got to say who gets your 2.
We'll go ahead and take. We'll go ahead and put ABUBAKAR on the board. You said he was due for 1. I would say Wilson because I think he probably, more likely. But Max on the other because I think our 3 strikers did get their kind of deserved goals coming last week. I want to see Max on the board, but I also think that we're probably overdue already compared to last year's numbers on a set piece delivery goal, and that's probably going to be either one of those center backs. Possibly get Mac on the board on one of those headers as well.
Rapids right now, money line in regular time, minus 105 favorite. Sporting KC you can get for plus 208. Honestly, minus 105, not a bad odds for a home primetime rival game. Goal scorers, they love Rubio all of a sudden.
Hey,
I don't know if you guys saw the odds for goal scorers against LA, but it was like 11 LA FC players before a listing of a Rapids player.
Yeah, and this past weekend, Rubio was again favored. I think he was like minus 270 with Joseph Martinez, who has a little bit better goal scoring resume, was at like plus 400. So interesting that Rubio is climbing the charts. But I think that goes to show kind of how we're viewed. We look like a team that's good for a goal or two. One of them's probably going to come from your striker. Yeah,
it goes on DraftKings right now. You get Rubio at plus 175, Barrios and Lewis at plus 200, Shinyashiki at plus 250. Then you see Shallowy there, Vujovic, Johnny Russell, Yappy on there at plus 260.
Yappy at plus 260?
Do they know something that we don't know?
Shoot.
Yaya would love him a Yappy goal, baby. Am I right?
I'm a Yaya guy.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Don Tuma.
Man, yeah. I mean, he's also there at plus 260.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm kind of surprised at these lines. I mean,
Vegas backs us to score this weekend. I like it.
Everybody's getting goals. You got Acosta. You don't see Max for a while. Interesting. I wonder if they think, either way, I think we're going to get some goals this weekend.
There you go. Maybe long odds on Alves as well.
Let's see. Dev Machine says 1-0 Rapids. Barrios gets his first. Huh. Dev, I like that. I really do. I do like Barrios getting involved. I think he is one of my breakout candidates that needs a good game. I'm going to say 2-0 Rapids. They're going to keep the clean sheet streak going at home. KAYE is going to get one, and Barrios will also get one. So, Dev, I'm with you. You can go ahead and get, Barrios as an anytime. And if you get KAYE as an anytime, you can... Oh, they don't want to let you parlay that. But you can get them both at pretty good odds, plus 350 and plus 200. I think it's worth a shot there. Any other notes you want to touch on for this weekend? Anything you're looking for? Any lineup predictions? Maybe a change from this last game?
Will be interesting to see where we slot Max in. I would imagine that he gets significant playing time. Aside from that, come on out to the C38 podcast the C38 tailgate before the game. We'll be out there at 4:00 on Saturday.
It was popping. Me and Marissa stopped by. We were covering the game. We stopped by, just grab some pictures, hang out, say what's up to people. And it was freezing cold, and they were partying, folks. Definitely go and check out the C38 tailgate if you can. They are a great group of guys. They want to hang out and have fun. There's away fans hanging out. I was actually pretty surprised at how many Atlanta United fans I saw, but this is obviously a destination for Eastern Conference road trips.
Yeah, big crowd from Kansas City coming on Saturday as
for
well.
sure.
So we need to be out there in full voice as Rapids fans.
That might be a little different. You're not as welcoming to the Kansas City folks and then the Atlanta folks.
That's fair.
You know what? You guys have your stuff over there. We'll hang out over here. No, it's all fun. The C38 guys are great. Listen to the C38 podcast here. Do you want to go ahead and plug that? Plug your host, Twitter, all that?
Yeah, Jared_Geisler on Twitter, Wanners FC on Twitter. We do the C38 podcast every week.
It's a great listen. These guys know what they're doing. They're there all the time. Also there with Dev Machine in the chat on the grill. It's honestly the most fun you can have before the Rapids game. Go ahead and get your DNVR Rapids shirt in the DNVR locker. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but I ordered something pretty sweet that isn't a t-shirt that we are going to be selling, DNVR Rapids branded. So keep an eye out for that. Follow us on Twitter. Go ahead and hit that like button for us here on the DNVR YouTube page. Follow super producer Yahir G Vasquez on Twitter. Follow me at __ Mitchell James. I should probably make that a little easier to find. And thank you guys so much. Up the PIDs, and we will see you next week.